Hey everyone, welcome back to the Listener Club podcast. I'm Randles-Friedman, and this is your LGBTQ news and culture roundup, where we break down the biggest stories in sports, politics, entertainment, and cultural moments shaping our lives right now. We have got a packed episode today, from Super Bowl stage to Olympics ice, from marriage equality in Virginia to major global human rights warning. So let's get into it. Last weekend, Bad Bunny's Super Bowl halftime show sparked celebration and backlash. As expected, Bad Bunny delivered a high-energy, colorful, and unapologetically inclusive performance at the 2026 Supertime halftime show. The show was a celebration of Latin culture, immigrant stories, queer visibility, and broader promise of the American dream. People of different backgrounds and life experiences coming together in pursuit of happiness, opportunity, and freedom. The halftime stage also featured out-performers Lady Gaga and Ricky Martin, making it one of the most visibly inclusive halftime show lineups in recent memory. For many viewers, the performance symbolizes progress and representation on one of the biggest stages in American culture. But not everybody was celebrating. A MAGA podcaster and a close friend of Donald Trump took to X, complaining the show wasn't white enough. That's right, white enough, and posting inflammatory remarks about illegal aliens and the lack of English translation. The backlash of those comments was swift, with critics calling them racist comments of a broader cultural divide playing out in real time. The halftime show once again became more than entertainment, it became a cultural flashpoint. Also, in case you haven't heard, Jill Zarin of The Real Housewives of New York did a video post of what she thought of the halftime show. She quickly got a lot of backlash. She took the video down, but too late. She was scheduled to start a new show on E! With The Real Housewives of New York's OG cast, but she has now lost that contract. She is very upset from what I keep reading online, saying that she says, I don't get a second chance. I'm only human. But you should have thought about that before. This is one of those moments, Jill, where you fuck around and you find out. Next, Amber Glenn faces online threats after speaking out. At the Milano Cortina Winter Olympics, U.S. figure skater Amber Glenn, the first openly queer woman to represent Team USA on Olympic ice, found herself at the center of a different kind of controversy. Glenn spoke publicly about the challenges facing LGBTQ+ people in what she has described as the Cheeto Man's America. In the aftermath, she reported receiving what she called a scary amount of hate and threats online. As a result, Glenn announced she will be stepping back from social media for her safety and mental health by reaffirming her commitment to using her platform to advocate for equality. Her experience highlights a growing reality for athletes. Visibility brings power, but it can also bring targeted harassment. Next, Elis Lundholm makes trans Olympic history. The 2026 Winter Olympic Games are shaping up to be a landmark moment for queer representation in sports. The Swedish skier is set to become the first openly trans skier to compete at the Winter Olympics. A trans man will compete in the women's Mongols and the women's dual Mongols events in accordance with the International Olympic Committee's current eligibility rules. His participation is historic, but it also underscores the complicated intersection of visibility and regulations in elite sports. For many advocates, his presence alone marks a powerful shift, but it also reignites conversations about how international sports bodies define eligibility and who gets to belong. Next, a record number of out LGBTQ athletes at the Winter Games. And I'm going to be covering this in a special report coming up next week. U.S. speed skater Connor McDermott will make his first Olympic debut in Milan, and he'll be one of the more than 40 openly LGBTQ athletes competing at the 2026 Winter Olympics, a record according to Outsports. McDermott welcomed the milestone, but noted that there's still work to be done. Sports are less inviting for gay men and gay women, he said, pointing out that the 8 of the LGBTQ athletes on the Team USA, 7 are women, and he's the only man. Representation is growing, but the imbalance suggests deeper cultural dynamics remain within sports. Next, we go to 1 Million Moms targets a butter ad. In a very different cultural battle, conservative group 1 Million Moms says it is disgusted by a new TV ad for I Can't Believe It's Not Butter, featuring celebrity chef Gordon Ramsay. The 45-second spot shows Ramsay enthusiastically praising a vitamin-enriched version of the spread with his trademark profanity fully censored by bleeps. Still, 1 Million Moms complain the ad is inappropriate for children, arguing that censored language is harmful because kids repeat what they hear. The complaint reflects an ongoing pattern, conservative watchdog groups mobilizing against mainstream advertising they will view as culturally inappropriate. The 1 Million Moms, they just want to just put a big old blanket around and just not let these kids have any part of what the real world is like. And then that's when they all grow up and end up being strippers and hookers and doing drugs. So good luck, 1 Million Moms. You're doing a great job. Next, Virginia moves to remove same-sex marriage ban. In significant legal news, Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger signed legislation sending several proposed constitutional amendments to voters, including a measure that would remove the state's 2006 ban on same-sex marriage from the state constitution. While the ban has been unenforceable since 2015 Supreme Court ruling, advocates argue it remains discriminatory language on the books. And in a political climate where these conservatives have openly questioned the presidents of Oberfeld, supporters saying the outdated bans is about future-proofing marriage equality. Voters will ultimately decide whether to strike the language from the Constitution. Our next story is Human Rights Watch warns of global LGBTQ backslide. Finally, a major new report from the Human Rights Watch is sounding the alarm. In its World Report 2026, the organization claims the United States is undermining LGBTQ+ rights and broader human rights globally with President Orange Man's second administration. The report describes what it calls a blatant disregard for human rights, citing rollbacks on protections for transgender and intersex people, restrictions on reproductive health care challenges to judicial independence, and the termination of programs supporting women, children, and LGBTQ communities domestically and abroad. Philip Bolopon, executive director of Human Rights Watch, warned that 2025 may be seen as a tipping point for global human rights protections. The report also argues that the U.S. retreat from international institutions and aid programs has weakened global rights frameworks at a time when authoritarian moves are gaining traction worldwide. It's a sobering reminder that fight for equality doesn't just stop at national borders. And that's your LGBTQ plus news roundup for today. From Super Bowl stage to Olympic podium, from constitutional amendments to global human rights warnings, the cultural conversation is evolving fast, and representation, resistance, and resilience are part of all their stories. If you find this helpful, make sure you subscribe, share this episode with somebody who needs it, and as always, stay informed, stay visible, and stay loud. I'm Zach Randles-Friedman, and come back next week for more LGBTQ+ news.